Turning Point is a really important webinar because we're going to talk about those difficult points that we hit. Sometimes they're difficult, sometimes they're not, where we really need to make some pivots for different reasons. I know when I reached my turning point, I had my purposeful awakening. I had built a very successful business and I knew there was no way that I could pivot that business. So I sold it and started all over. But there are ways that you can make the pivot, and there are ways that you can take what you have and turn it into something that makes a bigger impact. And that's what our guests are going to be talking about today, how they, when they reach those turning points, what they decided to do and why. And you're going to hear all of the lessons that they've learned. I do want to point out that we have events about every week or two. There's some event coming on. Most of the time you're hearing from our members. We've got 2 more coming up. They are free for both members and non-members. So there's 2 more coming up. Also, for those of you that are members, we've got a lot of things happening in July around demand generation. So there's a networking demand generation program that's for members only. There's also something that I think is going to be amazing, and it's the demand generation hackathon. So a group of people are going to get together and hack demand generation. So if you're a member, you can check on the live feed for more information about that one. Terri Maxwell, and I'll just briefly describe my pivot. So I started Share on Purpose, and we have a business cultivator. It's kind of like a purposeful Shark Tank and a speculator fund. And in there, I established through that something called the Conscious Business Growth Platform. And I used that to launch a series of businesses, Shifco being one of them. So that's how I got to this point in Shifco. And the things we're going to talk about today is, what is that Conscious Business Growth Platform? Because the turning points that we're going to talk about, they typically happen in a couple of places, and I'll point that out. We're going to talk about what I call FD squared, which is really the key to financial freedom, and business persona, which really gives you the fit. And then our experts are going to come on and talk about how they made their pivots, and what is growth versus impact? What does it really mean? What is a passion pivot? And then I'll come back and talk a little bit about conscious entrepreneurship in general. So I want to start with FD squared. I hope that you're like me, that you want to be financially free and make a difference. I have been financially free, but I wasn't making a difference. And I've made a difference and not been financially free. And I can emphatically say that the and is really where the fun is. And that's what I call FD squared. How do you become financially free and make a difference? And it's really 3 things, what I call FD squared. Fit, which we're going to talk a lot about today, because most of the pivots that people make in their business have to do with fit. The second is demand. So that's really important. But the big one in yellow is really differentiation. Differentiation is way more important than people realize in achieving the and if you don't know what differentiation means, it just simply means to be different in a way that matters to your buyer. A lot of times people think that differentiation means just to be different. It's really not. It's to be different in a way that matters to your buyer. And there's a lesson on our YouTube page where our coach that coaches on differentiation really talked about what that means and how do you differentiate. That's not the topic for today, but it is pretty important. Today, though, we're going to focus on fit and these turning point opportunities. So there are 3 business personas from my research. The first one is not very common in entrepreneurship, and that is a doer. Doers are motivated by doing tasks and operating in a familiar structure. You see probably about 8 to 10% of all entrepreneurs are doers. They tend to be solopreneurs, heavy solopreneurs. And they don't necessarily like all of the risk and stress that comes with entrepreneurship. The second is the most common persona. 55 to 60% of all entrepreneurs fall into this category. And I'm going to go deeper in this in a minute. Solvers are motivated by solving problems and experiencing freedom. And then the other category are builders. Builders, 30 to 40% of all entrepreneurs are builders. And the joy for a builder is motivating. Their motivation is building something, ideas, programs, people, creating value. And most of the quick start businesses that you hear about that made it big, they are typically led by a builder, but the majority of entrepreneurs are actually solvers. Close to 60% are solvers. Now, I'm going to briefly touch on all of these from one of my other companies in our research behind this. But if you're not sure which of these personas after today are you, if you go to shipco.global, hit the How You Grow page, there's an assessment on there that you can take. So on the shipco.global page under How You Grow, you can take that assessment and answer just a couple of questions, and it will spit out which persona it thinks that you are. I won't spend a lot of times on doers just because it's the very small percent. Doers are, they do better in corporations, larger companies. They really are known for getting things done, but you don't typically see a lot of this persona in entrepreneurship. The one that is the most popular, and our two speakers today recognize very quickly that they really lean towards the solver persona. Solvers love to solve problems. They're like problem hunters. And it's why they make great entrepreneurs, by the way. They're seen as a go-to resource for problem solving. They prefer more challenging work, but they still like a degree of predictability. The thing, though, that really sets solvers apart from my research at Succeed on Purpose is really the desire for freedom. You're going to hear that today. You're going to hear how, well, I want to grow my business, but I don't want the business to consume me. That's classic way that a solver thinks. So you're going to hear from solvers today and how they handled their turning point. And then there's builders, again, 30 to 35% of entrepreneurs are builders. Builders, the joy is in the building. It doesn't matter whether they're solving problems, building a product. And then with builders, you actually have to slow builders down. With solvers, you've got to help them really feel a strong foundation underneath them. Builders, you have to slow them down because they will, as soon as it's built, they're going to want to do something else. And I'm a classic builder, and my team, our leadership team in Share on Purpose and Shipco, they are constantly slowing me down and making sure that I'm not moving on to the next thing before it's built. So those are the three personas. In a minute, we're going to hear from two of our members who have leveraged their persona to really scale their business to the next level. And it really has to do with really knowing what you really love. So is your joy, does it really come through the freedom to solve problems? Or do you get more joy out of building things? Now, I love to solve problems. Anybody that works with me knows I wake up thinking about how to help our members grow. I go to sleep thinking about how to help our members grow. But if that's all I was doing as a builder, it wouldn't be satisfying. But solving problems while I'm building something, oh, that just feeds my soul. So the reason why that quiz is so important, and I'll put the address up there for you again to take, shipco.global, hit the How You Grow page. There's an assessment on there. Is you really want to ask yourself this question before you start making a passion pivot or modifying your business so it scales for impact. It's important to understand what really brings you joy. Is it the solving of problems, or is it the building of things, or is it some combination therein? And from that, I'm going to pivot over to our first expert. Ray has a company called Business Energizers. He is a master teacher on our platform. He is a well-known speaker and expert, and he's made, I believe, one of the most fascinating pivots. He was just talking about it's not as unusual today as it was when he did it, but not only is his company ingenious, but the way that he leads his life is ingenious as well. So Ray, tell us your story and tell us how you made this pivot.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Terri. And yeah, thanks for teeing up. So I did take the persona, and indeed I am a solver. That's what I love to do. And a little of my background, so you can kind of see where I evolved from. So I was actually a civil engineer. And being a civil engineer, I wasn't so much interested in the final outcomes of the things we built. So for me, it was water resource systems, canals and pipelines and all that. What I really loved was connecting with the team and having the team have a common vision, and whatever issues we had, and being able to design a system to be able to solve whatever was going on, so that in essence we could accomplish the vision. So I really love that about it. And while I was an engineer, I was gathering tools for myself so I could be a better leader, so I could relate better with people, communicate better. And in that exploration, I came upon a Dale Carnegie course, and I took it. It was a course on effective communication and human relations. And I was just amazed at the level of growth that I got in that 14 weeks. We met once a week, every week. We had homework to apply principles from a couple books. One book was How to Win Friends and Influence People, and another was How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And I just loved that course. And when I got to the end of that course, the thing that really lit a fire in me was the amazing growth that a lot of people had there. So I had my own issues about feeling comfortable speaking, and it helped me to get more comfortable in that. I had problems relating with people, and I didn't even realize I had that many problems. But what I loved seeing was the breakthroughs that people had in that course by the time they got to the end. And when I got to the end, I said, you know, this is what I want to do with my life. And I actually became a Dale Carnegie instructor and instructed that course for 8 years. And that caused me, and I was instructing that course while I was an engineer during the day. And that course caused me to say, you know, I want to shift over to human potential and help people to get those breakthroughs that they got in that course. And so I eventually transitioned to engineering, or out of engineering into a corporate training position for a utility company I was working for. And I just loved that. And I did that in the course of about 3 or 4 years in that company. And I said, you know what, I want more. And so I started creating a company that I could launch out of there and leave corporate America and do that I love full time. And it wasn't easy. So why don't you put the next slide up, Terry? I had to do some soul searching. So yeah, I had been an engineer, but you know, even when I went into engineering school, I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do for life, but I didn't know what it was. And through that Dale Carnegie course and other human potential courses that I took, I really found what made my heart sing. And that's what caused me to go through the transition. And so I asked myself some key questions. So first of all, I wanted whatever it was to be fun. So I asked myself, what do I enjoy doing? What are my passions that I want to express more? Next, yeah, success. So I asked myself, how can I make a meaningful, positive difference in this? So I saw the results that happened with people in the Dale Carnegie course, and I wanted to do that and more. And so I started developing my own training. And at that time, I was expressing a lot of what I was doing in a church I belonged to. So it actually gave me the opportunity to develop some of my own programs, to see how they worked, improve on them, and just keep building on that success. And so that led me to, okay, what products and services do I want to offer clients? And so in essence, what problems do clients have that I want to help them solve? And that's where I landed on expressing myself in areas of strategic planning. It was interesting because in that church, I actually went through a strategic planning retreat so that I could guide the board of directors through the strategic plan for the church. And so then I started doing more of that. I started developing leadership training programs, doing coaching, more speaking. And then the big question is, how much am I going to charge for my products and services? It was interesting because I let that evolve to a point where I felt really comfortable. And I got comfortable in actually pricing my services higher than what the average was for people in my industry. And for me, I saw a uniqueness that I brought, kind of a spiritual element, a relationship element, as well as the processes that I brought into companies to help solve some of their problems. And then for me, the thing that I really wanted to do, and I've done this my whole life. So I always had small businesses, even when I was a kid. So I would shovel snow in the winter in upstate New York. I would run errands, go to the grocery store for my neighbors, and I would see how fast I could get there and back, and scrambled eggs while I did it. Probably shook up milk so there's nothing but foam. But I've always had at the heart of my being to strive to underpromise and overdeliver. And that's what I still carry through in my business now. And so there was a unique thing that happened. So in 2002, with the events that we felt at Ground Zero in New York City and in Washington, D.C., there was this idea that just welled up in me. And I shared it with my wife, Lynn, who happens to be on the call here. I said, I want to share a message of hope and healing across the nation. And I got this idea. It wasn't to be easy. It wasn't to be driving in our car. And I got this idea to bicycle across the country, which was very interesting because as a child in high school, I wanted to cycle across the country, but I never did it. And this became an impetus to actually accomplish that goal, as well as sharing a message of hope and healing in fire stations across the nation, where we invited the public to honor the firefighters and public servants who served so selflessly in all those events we experienced at Ground Zero. And there was an interesting thing that happened. So that was a 3,369-mile journey. We didn't know when we began that, how we would feel, would we get tired of it? But an interesting thing happened. When we got to the end of the journey and we're there at Ground Zero for the year-end remembrance ceremonies, we felt like we should still be rolling. We just loved rolling on the road and the adventures and connecting with people and all the sights we saw. And that planted the seeds for, maybe we can keep going. And we started creating this idea and crystallizing a dream of becoming full-time RVers. And in 2007, we actually sold our home in 2006 before the real estate market crashed, and designed a custom-made RV. So that's actually a picture of our RV, and that's us picking it up from the factory, and that's our first camping trip right there. We designed it with an office. We designed it to serve all our needs personally. And ever since 2007, we have been full-timing and operating our businesses as we roll. We just love the freedom of travel while operating our business. And so that for us is I would say the big why and what we want our business to be able to enable us to do. And so I'm so happy I found ShiftCo, because last year, like all of you on this call, your lives were affected by the COVID-19. Our business was extraordinarily affected. Up to this point, most of what I had been doing was in person, other than some coaching calls. I hadn't done a Zoom. I hadn't done webinars. And I had a rude awakening come March of 2020. And that's where I really started retooling, getting comfortable in all the different internet platforms, and starting to do all of my services, coaching, facilitating groups, guiding organizations through strategic planning. And last year, all those tools became more improved so that we could do that. And we even bought a cell phone booster. So wherever we are, so we're in New Mexico right now. And we were in Arizona last month, and who knows where we'll be next month. But we are able to operate pretty much anywhere that we go. And so I found ShiftCo, and starting to hear about ShiftCo last year, and I wanted to get really good at virtual, and I wanted to start moving everything, including my training programs, up in the cloud. And so I started working with ShiftCo, and this is actually one of the first products when I was looking at how do I differentiate myself with all the other people that do strategic planning, do training, do coaching, all of that. And this is what I have honed in on as my value statement. So as business energizers, the value we provide is a balanced, well-engineered, heartfelt approach to help you strengthen your core. And core is clarifying focus, organizing and prioritizing commitments, acting with conviction, and so that you can realize success and fulfillment. Another piece that ShiftCo has helped guide me, and what I've loved so far, is you have these webinars, you have other core training based on where you are and where you want to go with your business. You have coaches and mentors that are helping you, guide you through the process, asking tough questions. And as we were looking at what are my packages and services and how can I speak them in a way that differentiates me, this is what we evolved to. So my meeting facilitation, which is kind of flat and everyone does it, is more about productivity sessions. So I help organizations become more productive in the meetings that they're doing, whether it's strategic planning, whether it's executive retreats, that type of thing. And then Destiny Reimagined, that is the whole strategic planning focus. That really is what it is. And especially in this environment where people are having to redesign where they want to go in their business. And I see a lot of people aren't sure if they're going to go back to their jobs. And so that's what I help people to do, is reimagine, where do you want to be? Leadership enrichment is what we thought was a really, really rich term for what the training and coaching is. And then dynamic presentations. I love speaking to groups. I love live, and I'm learning to love even more virtual. That interweaves in every one of those. And so it's kind of a subset of all of them. So that clarity has really helped me to understand my business better and how I want to serve my clients. And right now, what we're working on that I'm really excited about is now expanding my training programs into the online environment. I'm even going to have some training programs on ShiftCo's platform for our members, and also looking at and starting to improve what I'm doing with social media, my website, all about accelerating demand generation so that I can track the right and perfect people. And so all this has been a magnificent journey, and I never stop learning. Learning is a part of life, and I look forward to it every day.
Awesome, Ray. I want to thank you for your friendship and being a master teacher on our platform and sharing some of your journey. It's a powerful testament to when you really get your priorities clear and you ask yourself what you want and you take advantage of who you really are. You really hit on that FD squared. So your business fits you, it fits what you and your family want. It's differentiated, you've got demand generation cranking, and there's nothing that we can't accomplish when we have that alignment. And you're a testament to that.
Oh, thank you, Terry. And thanks for all your support and linking me with the right and perfect coaches.
Awesome. So another thing I want to talk about is this idea of a passion pivot. So in the turning point, there is a point at which we get to this place in the conscious business growth platform where somebody is ready to make a passion pivot. And our coaches are really have an ear to the ground to listen to when that is. And we have a program that we put people through to specifically help them. But a passion pivot ties off of what Ray was talking about with this idea of a meaningful impact. So I want to introduce the concept of what meaningful impact is. I told you when we started that I had built a successful, it was about a $6-7 million a year business. I had reached that point, that turning point where I knew I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. I had no choice at the time other than to sell that business and start over. But now I know that there are choices. And what someone's craving when they're at a turning point is really meaningful impact. And I'll start first with the meaning. They really, really want to build something that matters, and they want it to feel impactful. So I had built a business that, although it was very successful financially, I wasn't making a difference. And I had reached the point where my soul was dying in my own business because it wasn't making a difference. The second thing that someone reaches when they're at a turning point and they're ready for a passion pivot is a desire to do more of what we love. You heard Ray talk about that the bike ride led to wanting to do RVing, and he started to navigate his business towards the kind of work that he really enjoyed, but also work that still made a difference. And the combination of these two is what we call making a meaningful impact. This is one of the books that I've got hopefully coming out in the next year, is Meaningful Money. How do you transition your business to make a meaningful impact? And it really is honing in on, this is the formula for it. It needs to matter. And the person who'll be speaking about this, that was one of the things that was really top of mind for her, is she wanted to do something that really mattered, but she also wanted to do something that she loved. And conscious entrepreneurs really are very different. They are really driven by this concept of making a meaningful impact. So I want to bring Cassie up. Cassie is one of our Fun Friday facilitators. She does the DJing with me, believe it or not. And she also is a leader in the Shiftco Marketing Collective that helps members with their marketing. And I knew right away she had some magic in her business, but I also knew that she was struggling to scale. And so when Cassie and I started working with this idea of a passion pivot, she took a giant step back. So Cassie, I've got the slides up, and I would love for you to also tell your story and really talk about the things that you considered as you were making your passion pivot.
Thanks, Terri. It's a pleasure to share with you all on this webinar, The Turning Point. Each of you are here today at different paths in your journey in business. And since you're here, you may not fit the traditional mold of the conventional business owner. Each of you may be motivated by similar or different values, and understanding what fuels why you wake up in the morning is of utmost importance when it comes to scaling your business. Terri presents me as an example of the passion pivot. I am a passionate creative. I don't easily submit to authority, and I need to create my own unique path. Is anybody else like that in here? Yeah. With a well-rounded background in the fine arts, I moved toward developing meaningful, unforgettable experiences. I am the brand mythologist, and I help courageous brands connect deeply with the story of their relationship with their audience through brand consulting, brand identity design, and website design. And in the past year, through multiple efforts and conscious training through Shiftco, I have tripled my income by following my joy.
Yeah.
My path to growth may or may not fit yours, but if you resonate with what fuels me, you may find some insight about your own path ahead. So I'm framing this as the ripening, this path of maturing and expanding in your business. Where I transition from seeing myself just as designer or freelancer to a creator of unforgettable experiences. And to clarify, I am a solopreneur, and I have been expanding from launch to getting ready to head into shape. All right, slide. Answering the call. A quote from Joseph Campbell: "The big question is whether you're going to be able to say a hearty yes to your adventure." A couple of years ago, I was at a fork in the road. I had recently been phased out of a design agency that I had been working at for 5 years that provided nearly 100% of my income. I was recently divorced and I had 2 daughters to provide for. I had a choice. I could look for another design job, or I could venture out on my own. Full-time freelancer, getting clients, making the sales, showing up, and being seen. This scared the you know what out of me. But every time I looked at those job boards, I felt dead inside. And when I thought about my potential of growing my own business, I felt a raging fire within me. What did I want to be for my daughters? An example of doing the known, the comfortable, or carving my path, lit with passion, into the unknown. Well, you can guess which one I chose, yeah? My piece of advice: choose your hearty yes in all that you do. Slide. Committing to your desires and the confidence to create. When adventuring to new levels of being and growth, you're heading in a direction to create a way you may have never created before, or maybe beyond what you ever imagined. When I entered the Shift Code community about a year ago, my first group interactions was with an 8-week prosperity challenge. And in that challenge, we were to choose something that we wanted to create in our lives. And the masterful teacher present here, Terri Maxwell, gauged our confidence level to create whatever we wanted. At the start, I was at about a 60%. I also chose something pretty big to go after in the prosperity challenge. At the time, outgrowing our apartment here and looking for homes, I declared I want to build a home. So where's this huge chunk of cash going to come from? Today, our house recently has had the cement poured in the basement and shingles put onto the roof. My confidence to create anything that I want is about a 90% now. Yeah. And you can bet that translates to my confidence to create what I want in my business. It's a fuel loop, a passion snowball effect. My question to you is, what if you had the confidence to create your hearty yes? What if you could amaze yourself? Slide. Following both linear and non-linear paths to growth. Okay. To be a business owner and to be sustainable, you need to be strategic and understand what activities you know will likely generate income. So a large portion of my days really do go toward activities that directly bring in income. Deliver on the project, take care of the customer, create a great experience, put myself out there in a way that I've positioned myself in what I do. But nonlinear growth is a completely different animal, because not everything that you do is a direct path to growth tomorrow. Perhaps following your excitement in creating a new unrelated project or developing a skill or volunteering somewhere does not directly cause you to grow in a visible way today. But what I found is that following your excitement on new projects or connecting with people in contexts outside of business creates unexpected future opportunities. My advice: balance your time between what you know generates growth and following your excitement down new paths of connection. Slide. Keep the fires burning. Challenge yourself. I don't know about you, but keeping my fire going is essential to my success. Part of this for me is challenging myself and deepening my expertise. When I decided to show up as the brand mythologist, I told myself, well, that's a lot to take in. what a massive potential this is. I had a basic understanding of branding through story, but I knew I needed to adopt a Kaizen mindset, continually deepening and learning and pushing my edge. And so I deepened my expertise in mythology by reading books that took 15 minutes at least to digest one paragraph. Do you know what I mean? I challenged myself to walk the walk and began writing stories, and I now have written my first short story. I've pushed past my comfort zone and experimenting with new processes with my clients. For those of you who are bored when they're not learning or evolving, this is the key to growing. Maturing your expertise and your process is part of growth. My advice, keep your fires burning by continually sharpening your expertise and evolving your customer experiences. Slide. Creating your own category. So someone just asked me yesterday, thanks, Ray. Someone just asked me yesterday, there are so many brand consultants out there, Cassie. How do you stand out from the competition? And this was a colleague, not a client. How do you stand out? And I just took a step back and I realized, and I said, I don't worry about competition anymore. That was big. I know that I am meant to work with specific businesses. I will find them, or they will find me, and we'll know. And if we're not a good match, then they're meant for someone else. And I happily release them. So time to bring in the Shifco big guns here. One of the most powerful parts of my maturation is turning my uniqueness, both in value, process, and audience, into conscious differentiation, creating my own category. With the help of my Shifco coaches, I was able to strongly tap into my unique category. And in creating that, I no longer worry what Susie or Johnny is doing next to me. In fact, I've made great connections in Shifco with other creatives, many of which do what I do. When you're doing something unique, it's much easier to grow because you become specific and rare. My advice, don't make your business a template of someone else's. Find your unique value and run with it. Slide. Devoting your heart to your audience and what kind of customer relationships you dream about. People. In my beginning phases of growth, I was a yes woman. I said yes to everything that came in the door to gain more experience, to generate income, to gain confidence. And in that yes to everything, there were a few draining experiences along the way. Learning moments, right? Once I started to feel confident in my value and not scared to say no, I made a vow to myself. In January 2021, I vowed that I would only work with people that I would love to work with. Another manifestation of the hearty yes, and only work with people who were lit up to work with me. I decided that I wanted mutual professional adoration in my client relationships, and I wanted to help them meet their dreams. And so I started using the word no, but also my yes became bigger. My advice, you can't scale what drains you. Choose relationships that build you up. Slide. Developing unforgettable experiences. One of the coolest parts of scaling for me has been to fully realize and exercise my ability to create multi-sensory, meaningful experiences for my clients based on what they are most desiring. I've listened to my clients' feedback of what was missing for them in the past, and I've responded full-heartedly. I no longer deliver designs off the shelf, so to say, off the Cassie shelf. I deliver ceremony. I deliver meaning. I deliver transcendence through the branding experience. Through integrating my skills in music, the visual arts, understanding people, and my deepening expertise in mythology, I have scaled my one-on-one services to include more experiential collaborations, as well as I have begun a product extension of brand mythology trainings with the help and instruction of Terri Maxwell here, where I scale to creating these experiences for groups in a way that does not compete with my core one-on-one services. My advice: focus on how you make your audience feel. Ask yourself how you can improve your relationships and expand experiences in a satisfying way. Slide. Understanding your unique cycles of expansion and growth. Who in here identifies as introverted? No?
Me.
Oh, wow. Someone say me?
Terry, way and introverted.
Oh, wow. That's me too. The introvert who is good with people.
Yeah.
I have had seemingly conflicting values of achievement, growth, and needing to be in my cave in solitude. Growth is not a straight line day to day. Sometimes, like the moon, you need to disappear for a while, and that's okay. And not only okay, but necessary. Terri can attest to me hopping on a coaching call in tears because of how overwhelmed I felt. And you know what she told me? She said, I want you to spend the time planned for this call and go for a walk. Go get yourself a nutritious meal. My advice: take care of your heart and health first. Growth, like the moon or the tides, comes in phases. Honor what your unique growth phases are and balance that with what matters most to you. Slide. Reinventing yourself daily with new habits and practices. To go where you have not gone before, you must practice what you have not practiced before. The challenge and beauty of entrepreneurship is seeing yourself as an ever-evolving being. In order to grow, I challenged myself to take on behaviors I previously did not feel comfortable with. Waking up earlier, challenging new skills, showing up more in front of people, feeling bigger in my mindset, being around other people who are lovingly evolving always is a beautiful way to support you in this butterfly phase. My question to you: what would it take for you to move one step in the direction of growth? What new behavior are you ready to adopt? And slide. Finding your conjunction, aligning your unique high-value services with your greatest passions and a clear market need. There are schools of thought in business that say, own your value, charge what you're worth, etc. But I actually had very specific criteria that needed to be met in order for me to expand my services and prices. I am not a fake it till you make it kind of woman. 1, I needed to see results in clients that prove my high value in my services. 2, I needed to identify which of those services answer a big need from my clients and is harder to find anywhere else. Differentiation again. 3, I needed to price those sweet spots and raise those prices incrementally and test the value exchange, meaning where do clients find importance and where are they willing to invest in a way that meets my passion and gifts. In this way, for some of my services, I've tripled my rate from a year and a half ago. But again, not for the sake of raising prices, but of fully owning and delivering that value to my clients. My advice: your differentiation is your key to scaling. Lastly, I want you to contemplate one thing that you've been secretly or not so secretly wanting to do in your personal life or business, something that you're passionate about, and go for it. Stoke that fire. Thanks for having me on The Turning Point, Terri, allowing me to share my story. Glad to be here with everyone today.
Oh, thank you both. And as you can see, Cassie and Ray have two very different personalities. And I think that's one of the things I'm most proud about with ShiftCo is that it really takes the individual into consideration. We don't teach a cookie cutter process. We teach methodologies that each entrepreneur adapts for their business, their personality, their style, what it is they want to accomplish. And remember, about 60% of all entrepreneurs are solvers, they're not builders. And a lot of the business training is taught by builders, scale it to 7 figures in 2 years and all this crazy stuff that builders try to do. But solvers, that doesn't work for them. They really want to under promise and over deliver. You heard both of them speak about that. That's classic solver. They really wanted to focus on the solving of the problems, but not burn themselves out in the process. And that's really, I think, what makes us unique. And I'll just end with, why I feel like the power of conscious entrepreneurship and what we're up to at ShiftCo is so important. And the reason why we do these free events with our members is so you can get to know their businesses, but you can also learn from their journey. And there's always events coming on. They're almost all available free of charge, of course, to our members, but also to guests as well. And we've got 2 powerful events coming up because we want to share these insights and share the wisdom of people like Ray and Cassie, who are on their own path, and they're just using the tools that they've been inspired by, and then the ones that they learned through their ShiftCo journey. Building a meaningful impact business is about the and, it's not about the or. You don't have to sacrifice work-life balance to do it. You don't have to do lead magnets and click funnels and all that type of stuff. You really just have to figure out what brings you joy. Who do you love to serve? How do you love to serve them in a way that's unique? And as Cassie and Ray both said, you'll never have to compete if you do that. There are 3 things that I can promise you your business will grow using the ShiftCo platform. If you use the platform, your business will grow. We've just completed a study of our members who've been using the platform over the last year. Almost 70% of them in 1 year, so it was 60%-ish, 60 to 70 in 1 year will have moved their business from one business phase to the next, and Cassie is one of those. So your business will grow. If you use the platform, your business will grow. I wake up thinking about it. Stephen wakes up thinking about it. We go to sleep thinking about it. Your business will grow. Secondly, you will get support from an amazing community of leaders, and not just our coaches who are amazing, the mentors and other members. I think you probably heard both of them say that we members step up for each other, and you'll find it's very unique in that way. And then third is collectively we'll make a bigger impact. We're always looking for ways that we can collaborate. And then I'll just describe the process and then answer any questions you have. So every member gets a mentor, and your mentor is going to help you figure out what to focus on using what we call the map. And the map is the diagnostic prescriptive tool that we use. From the map, you get your learning pathways, and the pathways are really just what you need to work on. Everybody's not working the same pathway. Third is you get coaches. There's 2 coaches that every member works with a coach on a specific pathway. And then you also have a phase coach that helps you move from one phase to the next. And then the community is bar none the most amazing community I've ever been a part of, because our hearts are in the right place. And then lastly, I think the other thing that's unique is we combine business training with leadership training. When Ray spoke, he spoke about how he's growing his business. Well, we partnered with Ray to put some of his courses on the ShiftCo platform, his leadership courses. And he's got some phenomenal ones. So that's an example of other master teachers. We have, I think, Stephen, we're up to about 50 different master teachers that'll be on the platform in the next month or 2. And leadership is one of the areas that we work on, conscious leadership and evolving your leadership skills combined with personal fuel. There's always a prosperity challenge running now. And we have coaches that coach on the prosperity challenge. There's always going to be pure confidence running every quarter. So those personal areas, active listening, there's always those pieces. You can't separate the person from the leader, from the business. In conscious business, all three are entwined. And so that's ShiftCo in a nutshell. And the pathways are designed to help you grow. At a minimum, we want every business in the shape phase. So Cassie, as mentioned, she's tripled her business in the year that she's been here, and it's just almost up to a year. And she's now moving into the shape phase, and she gets a whole new set of things that she gets to work on. But you decide where you are, you decide where you want to go. What we're going to do is bring the tools and the resources to help you get there. And we'd love to have you come grow with us. Again, you can attend any of our events for free. You can also check out our YouTube page and get to know other members like Ray and Cassie, who are doing amazing things. So I'm going to stop the recording.